The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
It's time to go on the mat. The Cedar Valley's longest-running radio show devoted entirely to wrestling. Brought to you by Rolling Ford and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum on 1650 The Fan.
Welcome to On the Mat. This is the monthly edition of the Panther Wrestling Club, PWC, and UNI Wrestling. And we're going to be pretty strictly UNI Wrestling on this hour. We're going to have Drew Foster, 2017 All-American for UNI at 184 pounds. Second segment will be Coach Doug Schwab. He's going to come in and give a review of the entire national tournament that just wrapped up about 3 weeks ago. And we'll go in depth of the 7 guys that we had and their results and kind of setting it up for next year and seeing what we can look forward to. Third segment will be Max Thomson, 149-pound All-American for the University of Northern Iowa, just about 3 weeks ago in St. Louis. So we got a great show. We're going to start off right away. Drew Foster. Drew, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing real well now. We're going to get into some different things, but just right off the start, how's it feel to be an All-American?
It feels great. Very humbling. You know, having a lot of people coming up to you and just celebrating your accomplishments and just wishing you a good job or like telling you good job, congratulations. So, I mean, I'm happy with it. I want more though, type 2.
Right. So I know you know everybody that's competed at the Division I level wants to be. I mean, obviously wants to be a national champ. The next thing is, obviously there's only 10 national champs, is to be in that top 8 in the weight class. So as you think about it, I wanted to be an All-American, wanted to be a national champ. You are an All-American. Does it feel like you thought it was going to feel like?
Right away, I would say, yeah, I was really excited. But when you're there, I guess when you stop and just look around and, you know, you see all the great guys around you. You know, I've been wrestled around Blaze Cabell, Cooper Moore, JJ Everard, just to name a few who never achieved that. And those are great wrestlers right there. And
yes,
just to know that you have that honor and in a way you're representing them when you're getting that. So.
But now it's sunk in probably a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just, hey, that's what it is, and that's what it's going to be the rest of your life, is that at the very minimum, you're an All-American. And, you know, I actually think you're going to be 2 to 3-time All-American. I mean, that's what I think, and possibly a national champion. But that's something nobody will ever take away from you.
Yeah.
Great job. So we're going to back up a little bit, talk about not so much last year, but with matches, but more the sour taste in your mouth from last year's MAC tournament. And first of all, kind of talk about that MAC tournament. I think you had the full expectation you were going to be a national qualifier. And when you weren't, what did you do to set you on the right path to set you up this year to be an All-American?
I felt like I just kind of got punched in the mouth when I didn't make the national tournament. I mean, when you're expecting to do something and you don't do it.
I mean, did it shock you? Because that's what.
Yeah, I 100% thought I was going to be at the national tournament. So the coaches had me take some time off right away. But you know, when you get that itch, you know, you miss the mat, you want to just get better. And I mean, you got that in the back of your head, just driving you the whole time. It was big and pushing me this summer, I would say.
So there's got to be either a mentality thing or a training thing. Essentially, you were a 500 wrestler last year. Should have qualified, in my view, for the national tournament. Would you placed? I don't know. I'm not going to say you would have or you wouldn't have with that NCAA tournament. But like you said, you got shocked. It was a punch in the jaw. But you went from a 500 wrestler within a year to being on the stand, 7th in the country.
Yeah.
So what did you – was it like a mentality thing, or was it more of a training regimen, or was it a little bit of everything?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I'd say I've always worked hard and always strived to be the best I can be. and in wrestling, and probably in all sports, you get a lot of mental battles, and a lot of it's just self-belief. Because, it's nice to know you have coaches and teammates and just family and friends that believe you 100%. And when you can get that through your head and believe in yourself, I think it's powerful.
No, I think that's huge. I remember David Bonin told me, 3 years of not placing and being, right there. And then finally he did his senior year. And I go, so how'd that feel? And he goes, you know what? He goes, I just want to prove it to myself. I didn't care if anybody else knew. I just want to prove it to myself.
Exactly.
A little bit of that too?
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit, national tournament. Is it what you expected it was going to be, or was it, like a NASCAR race, like just things flying by you?
Looking back now, I would say it was like a NASCAR race. Like, it's hard to just recollect what happened. But in the moment, it was really exciting, and I guess you didn't get to absorb it as much just wrestling there. That's the first time I ever even was at a national tournament. I've never watched one like live, been there on site, but a lot of it's just, or when we were there, you warm up, or you make weight, you warm up, you go, you sit in the back and you relax. You got to keep the nerves down, and you get onto the floor. You go through your little less of a warm up, but still get the blood flowing, and then you run out there. I remember my first match. I was running out there as Kyle Crutchmer was getting upset first round, and crowd's going wild. And I was like, "Oh crap, this is real."
So did you kind of notice that out of the corner of your eye, or did you just hear the crowd and kind of look over?
Yeah, I heard the crowd, and I looked and I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, that kind of brings it all home right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, I know you touched on this too, your support system. So obviously you've got coaches and teammates, but I know it goes a lot deeper than that. Who are the people that you lean on, especially the national tournament, who you're talking to that give you the motivation and maybe ground you a little bit and help you perform at your best?
I mean, I'm always talking to my mom and dad. Just those guys, they believe in me 100%. And, me and my dad always have the talk, and he expects me to be a national champion by the end of it, and I expect that of myself. But, I mean, he sees that in me, and that's always nice to have. And then I would say just my teammates, like the guys I was there with in St. Louis, just sitting there, and we'd have a lot of talks, just like, hey, this is us. This is going to be us.
So I want to do a quick review of your season, and I'm just going to hit the highlights of, and there's going to be a couple wins in there, a couple big wins, and there's going to be a couple losses I want to ask you about too, that I think all put you on this path to be All-American this year. And you're listening to Drew Foster, 2017 All-American at 184 pounds. And you're listening to On the Mat. So we're going to go out to early in the year, one of the first duels, November 27th. Right there in the West Gym, Old Dominion comes to town, and you knock off two-time All-American Jack Deckow. So a couple different thoughts there. One was, to me, okay, you've arrived. Okay, you thought you could beat him. You did beat him. And it was a decisive victory.
Yeah.
What kind of tell me going into that, did you have doubts that you could beat him, or was it just, man, let's go, I want to see where I'm at? And then tell me the aftermath, too.
I went in knowing I was going to win the match. I had a lot of fire behind me. At that point in the season, I was battling for a spot. I wasn't concerned about the other wrestler, but I knew I wanted to prove, just to the coaches, like, I'm the guy, I'm ready, let me step up and show you guys. And I believe I did that.
You sure did. And then you rattle off a bunch of wins. Then we get to the UNI Open, and you lose to a guy from Illinois, who is almost shocks me that he doesn't place in the tournament, except that 184 is probably the best weight at the tournament, in my view.
Yeah.
Emery. So talk about that at the UNI Open. It's a loss, but what did you learn from that? Or were you prepared as you usually are, or was it just you got beat?
I was winning that whole match up until the third period, and he got to a position where he was good, where he's better than me, and I'm not comfortable in, and he took advantage of that and beat me. I didn't really, dwell on it that much. 20 minutes later, you'd find me talking to B-Rob, just we were laughing and stuff.
Right.
Just not going to hang my head on a loss, especially that early in the season.
when you got towards the end of the year or national tournament, did you want to see him again, or did it matter?
That didn't really matter. I feel like I proved to him that I'm better than him in that match. But, I mean, I guess I would have liked to. There's a couple guys I would have liked to see again, and I saw a couple of them, I guess, at the national tournament.
Then you go down to the scuffle, rattle off a bunch of more wins, but you do lose to Nolan Boyd from Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Talk that match through a little bit at the scuffle.
I mean, I felt good. I felt like that was, to me, just proving to myself that I'm there with the top guys. I was in on, I don't know how many shots, and I finished a couple. And just rolling around with that kind of guy who's already All-American before. And, I think he was top 5 at the time. And just proving to yourself, that was pretty good.
So now we're after Christmas. You're feeling pretty good. Hey, I'm definitely trending the right way. I'm beating All-Americans, losing very close, but maybe out-wrestling other ones. So you're right there.
Yep.
So then let's move on to, you knocked off Jordan Ellenwood a couple times this year. And you know what? I think that guy's pretty good. I really do. I liked him last year. I think I'm not sure if he's been round to 12. I think one year he was. But he's a solid guy, and you pretty much dismantled him. Well, the one match I think was close, but the other one I think
I only wrestled him once this year.
Oh, I thought you got him at conference too.
Nope.
But you knocked him off. That's a quality guy.
Yep.
So that's got to keep building your confidence.
Yeah.
So then we go to Iowa State, and you wrestle 184-pounder from Iowa State.
Downey.
Patrick Downey. And you lose that match. Now, talk that through a little bit, because he's All-American last year at, I think, 97 and dropped down.
I would say that was my most frustrating loss of the year, and that's one of the guys I was hoping to see at the national tournament, but things went south for him. I got exposed in a lot of areas, and from that point on, me and Pugh, I mean, we worked, and all the other coaches just worked on where I got exposed at, finishing my shots, getting to other shots, and I think that showed towards the end of the year.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. You tightened a lot of things up there, and I'll give credit where credit's due. I think Downey's a really good wrestler.
He's a great wrestler, yeah.
The problem is you actually have to be associated with the team to wrestle in the national tournament. So
you got to have all the triangles.
Yeah. So, I thought Deckhow beating him was a little bit of a turning point for you, but I thought losing to Downey was a turning point, because you're right, that's showing you a few things that if I tighten these up, man, I can beat anybody in the country.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the conference, and you look great. You look great even in the final, and you lose to Deckhow now in a real close match. I think it goes overtime.
Yep.
So what was the difference between November and March?
I would say I wasn't pulling the trigger as much. Come March, I was tight. I was a little nervous in that match. I had no reason to be. I don't know, I was wrestling a defensive style, wrestling into his type of wrestling, and that prevented me the win. I made a just stupid mistake at the end of the match too, but I mean, that's fixable things. But he's a great competitor and seems like a great guy.
Yeah, I remember. It kind of reminded me of Deckhow beating Loader like 3 years ago. The young guy kind of shocks the veteran. But it was a good match, and I don't feel too sorry for guys that lose the national tournament just because it's such a meat grinder. I mean, somebody's going to lose. But Deckhow lost in overtime
to 2 national champs.
The first one obviously was from Cornell. Loses to him in overtime. Could have went either way. There's a couple calls that could have went either way. And then loses to Miles Martin, who you end up wrestling. We'll talk about that in a second. So, man, if you're gonna not place, that's the way to not place, I guess. But that's not much consolation.
Frustrating, for sure.
So now we're at national tournament, and starting out, you wrestled Minnesota Stevenson, which I think you'd beaten before.
I hadn't wrestled him. Yeah, I'd wrestled a couple Minnesota guys, but he's one I hadn't wrestled.
So, I mean, in my view, you're the better guy. Were you able to control your nerves that first match and just go out? And I know you were, because I watched the match. But talk about that first national tournament experience.
It was, I think, just getting out there and getting that first takedown was huge, just for me. just like, all right, there's the deep breath. It's all, now let's just let loose. And I just kick-started the weekend.
And then really I think the turning point in the tournament for you, it's hard to say how things will turn out, but you'd lost to Virginia Tech earlier in the year, and you knocked him off, and I can't remember what the seed was, but you essentially take over his seed by beating him. I thought that was a huge match. I thought you controlled it, really frustrated him. Talk about that match a little bit.
I had lost to him like 13-2 or something, so I guarantee he was going in there just thinking, this is an easy match, and maybe that was a difference in the match, just his mindset, but he wrestled smart, and I wasn't shooting too much, but I was still pecking away, trying to wear him down, and in the end, I got my shot. So,
could you feel him getting frustrated?
Yeah, for sure. He couldn't really get to his attacks at all. Just was working on hands defense.
You're listening to On the Mat with Jeff Bradley and 2017 All-American Drew Foster. Okay, then we then you wrestle Nolan Boyd. You lose to him. That puts you in the wrestle back. So now, we need to win a match or two to get there to be an All-American. And your next match is against North Carolina State. And you would think the pressure, if it's going to get to you, it's going to get to you in the round of 12.
Yeah.
Were you able to control your nerves and just go out and take care of business?
I would say so. He's a strong guy. It's fun wrestling people you've never wrestled, like, all year. But I would say, the nerves, they're obviously there, but I think, the coach did a good job of just keeping them settled down for me.
So you beat him. You're an All-American. You're top 8. Now it's just a matter, let's see how high we can place. And you have Miles Martin, defending state champ, and you got him on the ropes, and I think you wrestle him good. You end up losing.
Yeah.
But talk about that match. It looked like he might have just overpowered you in a couple little spots.
Yeah, it was, I think he got the first takedown, and then he cut me right away, and I hate it when people do that to me. Yeah, so I went and got a takedown on him. I think it was tied up, and in the last, 30 seconds we were tied, and I just kind of stuttered a little bit, kind of froze up, and he took advantage of that and blasted me, got the takedown, and won the match. But, yeah, he's a tough guy.
My guess is you guys will see each other in the future. Yeah,
I hope so.
Both sophomores, I think, be juniors next year. You guys will butt heads again. And then to place 7th, you beat Nathan Jackson from Indiana. We got just about 35, 40 seconds. A little similar to Miles, but not probably as powerful, but he's really dangerous, and you dominated that match.
Yeah, I felt real free that match, I would say. It was just enjoying it, knowing that was the last match of the tournament. I really want to end on a win. And that's probably the best I felt, I would say, all tournament, just real relaxed and just wrestled well.
Well, Drew, I really appreciate you taking the time, and once again, congratulations on being an All-American for the University of Northern Iowa. We'll be back with On the Mat.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When all you want is sports, all you need is 1650 The Fan.
Welcome back to On the Mat. This is Jeff Bradley. Drew Foster just got done, All-American 2017 for University of Northern Iowa. His head coach, Doug Schwab, is with me in the second segment here, and we're going to talk about the entire national tournament in about 15 minutes. I don't know if you can... Doug's not good for distilling things down, but we're going to try to get through as many guys as we can. Had a good showing out there, but before we do that, just a little housekeeping on the PWC part of it. We got somebody going to the National Open.
Yep.
And we've had somebody leave the PWC. You want to talk about those guys real quick?
Laser's getting ready for the U.S. Open at the end of the month. Probably going to send a couple juniors out there, too. Blaze got an opportunity to be a volunteer assistant coach out at Fresno State, and he wants to coach.
Yeah.
You get to be in the corner, you get to do everything that you don't get to do here. And right now, I'm very happy with my staff and the job that they're doing, and there's no opening. So when a guy can better his position and get to do something that he wants to do, you thank them for their time and you wish him nothing but the best, because he had a great 6 years here and put a lot into the program, and we appreciated. Loved how he competed, and what he brought to the program, and wish him the best out here, out at Fresno, and he'll do a great job out there too. So we'll see him out at the Open, and I guess you never know when guys can come back around too.
Right.
So that's one thing, man. I want to help put guys in a better position. I mean, that's part of my job. I want to get guys to be able to go, and if they want to coach, they go get a coaching opportunity, and he went and got one, and like I said, we wish him the best of luck.
So we've got the year-end banquet for you and I coming up. I think it is April 22nd.
Yep, 22nd.
Roughly starts about 2 o'clock. I think there's a little bit of a...
Yeah, we're going to do about a half an hour. We've kind of done an hour before, but we're going to scale that down a little bit, and we're actually going to do it... we're doing it in a theater. So there'll kind of be theater seating. You'll be able to be out in kind of the entryway first, talking, mingling a little bit. There'll be some snacks and drinks, and then we're going to go in and we're going to have our... I guess kind of make it more like an award show, a little bit, and just try to do something a little bit different, because the McLeod's okay, but it's pretty impersonal in there. You got the huge room and everyone's on the floor, and
just so wide open,
and no one seems like they mingle with each other. So get guys to dress up. For me, the big thing is you want to celebrate your season, and really be able to recognize what your guys did for you and the program for this year, and be able to really recognize our seniors and send them out in the right way and give them the opportunity to talk about their time here. I mean, to me, that's what it's about. And we're going to try it this way, and hopefully things go well. And, we're not doing a meal. We've done a meal before, but people come with their family, then they usually want to go do a meal anyway. It just makes more sense. We'll do it a little bit earlier afternoon. And then parents come, they can go out and they can, take their family out to eat somewhere, with them. So I think it'll work out well. And it's open to anybody, too. I mean, any fans of UNI Wrestling want to come, they can come. They can come listen to our guys. And I think it's a great opportunity to hear our guys speak, and really understand what they went through and celebrate this team, because there's a lot to celebrate.
Well, having said that, we're going to move right into national tournament results. We're going to start with Dylan Peters, 125-pounder, two-time All-American. He came up short this year, his senior year.
Yeah.
Drew the number 4 seed right off the bat, who ended up being the eventual national champion. But let's talk through what I would call probably the heart and soul of this team, Dylan Peters. Yeah,
no doubt. And, kind of like I said, you don't always have a fairy tale ending. It doesn't always end the way you want. Obviously you'd love to go out as a national champion, but that doesn't always happen that way. And his season probably couldn't have went farther from how he wanted to go, just from being injured. He never was really healthy all year. And then, we get his knee scoped, and, he'd torn his shoulder at the scuffle. And just actually had surgery last week with that. So, everyone kind of asks me, what's wrong with Peters? What's wrong with Peters? Well, man, the guy's beat up. Bottom line, he's beat up, but he's still warriored on. Every time that I asked him to go out there, he went out there and still battled for his team. Ended up getting to the finals at the conference, and I'm not sure how he did it. He just kind of gutted out wins. And I think what was really telling for me, he beat Barlow on the backside, which that's a tough match.
That's a
really tough match, just from a matchup and the guy beating him. But then, the next match he got down 6-0, and he could have easily packed it in. I can't tell you how many guys packed it in. I mean, you're in that round, you see. I mean, who knows how many pins there were? But there's guys packing it in left and right, and he didn't do it. He could have easily done it, but it tells you the type of kid he is, the type of competitor he is, and the type of grit. And like I said, he is the heart of the team. And then when guys kind of got up and talked about the season, I mean, there was a lot of guys that mentioned Dylan Peters. There was a lot of guys that, hey, I came to UNI. Man, you're a big part of that. And I know that, it's still fresh, but I tell you what, he had an incredible career. He has nothing to ever hang his head about. Being a 2-time All-American, having over 40 pins in his career, and really missing almost a full season, even with that. So, man, all I can say is he's been incredibly consistent on and off the mat. He's done a great job. He's going to graduate this spring. And not sure what the future holds for him wrestling-wise. Like I said, he's beat up. He just got another shoulder surgery. But, he'll always have a place at UNI. And in part of our program. And like I said, he put our program into a better spot. He elevated it. So all we can say is thank you to Dylan Peters and everything that he did for our program. Because, man, he did have a great career.
He surely did. You're listening to Jeff Bradley and Doug Schwab on the mat. Let's move up to 133, Josh Alber. Went 2-2, did not place. And I guess my 2 cents is it looked like, from my vantage point, I thought he was the better guy in the 2 matches that he lost to. Yeah. So let's talk through Albert's tournament a little bit.
And those are ones that hurt you as a coach. And not that all the losses don't, but when you feel like the guy is, I thought he wrestled really well, and he went 2-2. I thought the Michich match, he had a single up twice. And, you finish one of those, he wins that match. I have no doubt in my mind. So, I go back into me and coaching, having a guy better prepared. He should not lose when he has a leg up. He shouldn't lose when he has a leg in the armpit. And we have to, I'll put some on me that we have to have him more prepared to be able to finish that position. Because, both matches that he lost, I feel like he totally out-wrestled the guys. And those are painful, like I said, as a coach. But I tell you what, he's got a fire lit underneath him. He's been back in the room and looks good. And I see a whole different level. And I think a guy, and I can tell you from experience, having a guy that's one of your teammates, or having a guy like Drew Foster, all of a sudden now he's on the stand. Well, and he was just on the stand. I'm going to be on that stand.
That's right.
And I'm going to be high on that stand. And not taking anything away from Drew, but man, this guy, he's my teammate, and we came in. I've seen what he's been able to do. I'm going to be able to do it too. And it knocks out any of those doubts. And just, I know it. And that's where Albert's at. And you know what? He's part of the heart and soul of our team too. And I know that, man, he's looking at 2 years are gone, and he's going to make the most of these next 2 years. And I'm extremely excited to have him back. I think he got better from this year to last year, and you're going to see him make a huge jump this year too.
So we're going to have Max on in the next segment. We'll talk about him a little bit if we have time at the end. But let's move up to 165. Sophomore Bryce Steyert went 3-2 or 4-2. He's a round of 12.
Yep, round 12.
Obviously, both guys that beat him, Missouri and Okie State, were All-Americans. Let's talk about Bryce's tournament.
Just probably open up a little bit more. I think there's some technical things too in some positions. Even though the Lewis match was score wise, but he was in a position a few times to be able to score, and you weren't able to. And I kind of go back to Elber, you were in a position to score. So maybe just some guys need a little bit more seasoning. And I hate to say that you have to go through a national tournament or you have to go through the season, because you know what, nothing's guaranteed. But I know that he's incredibly close to being one of the best guys. He's been able to beat some of those guys, but there's a big difference between being close and doing it too.
That's right.
So I know that he's got a fire lit underneath him too, which is good. I don't think these guys are deterred in any way. They're not putting their head down. They're understanding that they're close, and they said he's got a teammate that he came into school with that was just fifth in the country. So we can use those things, and he's using that too. I think these guys are all elevating each other right now. And do I think that was the best Bryce Steyert that I've seen compete? No, no. And sometimes that happens when you get to the national tournament. But he's in the round of 12, and again, you can't get behind in those big chunks. You get down 6-0, it's really tough to come back, and got to be able to limit some of those damages. And all of a sudden he only goes down 2-0, he wins that match. He's an All-American. And then you got to be able to get him off the bottom. I think that, to me, there's a few things that we really he needs to do to make the jump, and getting off bottom has got to be one of them. And I know he got better, and here's the thing about him is some people forget, he didn't redshirt. Some of these other guys had that redshirt year, and it does make a difference. So that's always an option on the table too, to be able to get him, maybe that year. I don't know, not saying we're going to do that, but I think sometimes when you see a guy like Max or one of his teammates that, oh man, that year really helped him.
Right.
He got way better. Look at where he was able to go in that time. And
it can go both ways.
Yeah,
you
definitely
can get a ton better, or you can I don't want to say decline, but not get anywhere.
Yeah, you stay same. And And sometimes maybe I haven't done this before, so I don't know. You know, I've redshirted everyone to begin with, so
Right.
And I know some other teams have done where they bring a guy in, they wrestle him right away, and then they redshirt him later. You know, but like I said, it's going to have to be that because you're going to make this jump, you're going to elevate, you're going to be in a better spot. You know, your last 2 years, and not just because you just redshirt to redshirt. You know, I don't know. I'm talking all over the place, but Bryce Steyert. He's got the physical tools. There's no doubt he does. Now, putting some of those technical things together, getting off the bottom is going to be key for him, and just getting bigger and stronger. I don't think he's got big legs and hips, but I don't think he was an overpowering 65-pounder. Right. You know, so growing him into that weight class, because he started off at 57 the start of the year, and he was able to grow into it some, but to really grow into being a 65-pounder and being a full size and full-blown 65-pounder, and that's what he's going to work on doing this spring and summer.
So let's move up to 174 pounds. Redshirt freshman Taylor Lujan goes 2-2 and does not place. Loses to Virginia Tech for the second time.
Yep.
And then out of the tournament, getting beat by a guy from Navy who he'd beat at the scuffle.
Yep.
So that's a little frustrating.
Yep.
But let's talk about Taylor's tournament.
From experience, like I said, just sometimes you need to go through these things. Sometimes you need to get to that tournament. You need to feel those emotions and to really understand how to deal with them. And all the skills are there. I mean, the guy's an incredible wrestler. He had shoulder surgery a week ago. Yeah. And the thing about him is he didn't complain about it. He didn't make any excuses about it. Well, this is why I'm struggling, this and that. I mean, he never did. But man, he's so capable of being able to score points and hit attacks. And, I think about that Epperly match. He went out and scored the first takedown. Great attack. Put him right down. And I don't think he realized where he had that guy. I mean, that guy was so ready to crack. And we build a guy up, or he's been an All-American or this or that, and that guy's scared to death too. Or he's more scared to death, and you're thinking about how you feel. I think if he would have realized where that guy's head was at, man, if he would have went and scored again, he would have blown that out of the water.
Which is what Drew Foster did at 184 against Virginia Tech.
Yep. And that's, I think, you talk about approach. You talk about, we were talking about Drew a little bit, off there. Just he's kind of got a little bit of swagger about him and a belief, not cocky, but a confident man. I don't care. I'm going to come out and I'm going to compete against you. And Lujan, he's got to be able to throw some of those things aside and be able to just let it go. I mean, he prepares very well, man. He trains hard. He does things right, and he's got incredible skills. He does. Some of it comes down to belief, man. But I know that he's one of the best guys. I have no doubt. I know that he's one of the best guys. I know he went 2-2 in that tournament, but I know he's one of the best guys. And being hurt this spring, it's gonna be a great thing because he's gonna have to spend some time and working on some other things. And there's some mental things that need to be ironed out. And we'll have time to do that. And I'm just excited that we have him for 3 more years.
So then 197, Jacob Holschlag, he is a redshirt freshman and went 0-2 at the national tournament. Obviously out of weight class, probably closer to a 84, maybe even 74 if he, depending on, if he get in the lineup there. But let's talk about that hard-nosed guy.
Just like you said, just tough, gritty. I guess there's a lot of things I'm proud of, but you know what? They were kind of battling back and forth, him and Drew, earlier in the year, and then Drew obviously went to scuffle, had a good tournament. Like, you need to move up, and he never complained about it. He just, okay, man, that's what I'm going to do, and went out and competed his tail off every single time. Made it to the national tournament. I think you see guys are going to continue to make adjustments. I mean, both those guys, I don't think, guys aren't picking underneath against him, which is a great thing. You're already starting to build a reputation, but obviously have to get a leg attack. The guy from Ryder just kind of picked him apart, hit some really good attacks, was able to get him to his butt and just finished real clean. The South Dakota State match, man, he was in a position where he had a cradle locked. He didn't end up getting points. To me, that match should have been over. He should have been up in the stands, eating popcorn, like Gabe would say. But incredible experience he got this year. Already back to work. I came in Sunday after the national tournament, and he was already in there with his brother. So he's going to keep working. He's going to keep grinding. He's going to continue to get better. He's going to grow into the weight. I'm obviously excited for him in the future. And other than Dylan, all these guys are back. You go back to Foster and you go back to Max. I know we haven't talked about those guys, but all freshman and sophomore. But our mantra to them all year is we don't have to wait to win. You don't, because next year's not guaranteed. But I know I'm extremely excited for what we have in the room, how they're leading the team though right now, and really they're making it their team. We've talked about that for a long time. Bradley, like, hey, we need to make it their team. We need to make it their team. Well, they are making it their team.
They sure are. Yep.
And that, to me, that's what's exciting. And listen to these guys talk and listen to Max talk and listen. I mean, they believe in the program. They believe in what's going on. It's not kind of a smoke and, I'm not sure about this. Like, they believe in what's going on. They believe in this place. They believe in each other. And we're just going to keep rising.
Okay, probably the last question. We just have about 45 seconds left. So there's truly not really an off season in wrestling, even though some guys are getting, trying to get injury free. What are you going to work on spring, summer, preseason, fall? What needs to get addressed to get you over the hump?
Setups are huge. So obviously our hand fighting and hand fighting's evolved a little bit. We've been talking about some things, a lot of overtie stuff, but just making those adjustments. Obviously, getting off the bottom, we want everyone to be able to get out of legs. We're going to spend time there. In each individual, we're going to spend time in, because everyone's kind of got their own skill and ability that we got to build on, where you have a go-to leg attack. But we're going to spend a lot of time on setups, on bottom, and then kind of their go-to leg attack. And for some of these guys, a guy like Max, it's time to start turning and pinning guys. And they're capable of doing it. Foster, he's capable of doing it. And that's kind of, if you want to go to the next level, a team like Penn State scoring bonus points left and right, you have to be able to do that. So those are the things that we're going to work on, and we're going to get everybody stronger. And we're going to really push some of these guys this summer, because there's an element of toughness that is in this sport, and you want to success at the national tournament, you got to be tough. So
okay, thanks, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and we'll be back with On the Mat.
Log on and listen online at 1650thefan.com, the online home of 1650 The Fan.
Welcome back to On the Mat. We will have Max Thomson here shortly, but a couple more follow-ups for Coach Schwab quick. What's your personal goal for the team next year?
Well, I don't like to set any limits. So, I mean, I think if you start getting into numbers and those things, then I think you're limiting guys, a little bit. So that's a little bit of my mentality. But I think I said it after the Virginia Tech meet. Let's see how much better we can get. Let's see how much ground we can cover. And I don't think that's ever going to change. I think if we continue to progress guys and they move forward and we keep to develop them, then yeah, we can. You can have a bunch of guys on that stage on Saturday night. In tapping out potential, that's different for everybody too. Some guys to tap out their potential, they will be a national champion. And for some guys to tap out their potential, maybe they're just on the stand, So I don't know if I'm avoiding the question. I'm just saying I don't like to limit anything. I know some guys, well, we don't have 5 All-Americans. We don't have 10 All-Americans. We don't have 10 national champions. I mean, yeah, that's the goal. I mean, you obviously want to get the most out of every one of your guys. You're watching some teams right now, and you watch a team like Penn State. I guess you want to get guys to compete like that. They're just free and open, and they don't care who they're wrestling and competing against. They're going to go out there and they're going to compete really hard for 420 seconds. I mean, I guess to me that's what you want guys to do. You want guys to believe in the program and see them grow. And seeing a guy like Max, how much he's grown from the start of this season to the end of the season, man, that excites you as a coach. And it's not because of us, man. It's because of him and the choices that he's making and how much he truly believes in himself and the things that we're telling him. So I guess that's more what my concern is. I don't think I'd ever believe in setting limits, because what if I say I want to have 5 All-Americans? There's going to be 5 guys that are in the lineup. They're going to be like, well, which 5 are you talking about?
Well, me and 4 other guys, right? So let's switch gears here a little bit. Iowa State's making a big splash with their coaching hires. So you've got, obviously, Dresser came over from Virginia Tech. He's wrestled at Iowa, from Humboldt.
Yep.
Brings over Zadok, friend of yours.
Yep. Used to be friend.
Well,
actually, I'm kidding. I sent him a message. Right away. So,
I mean, brought St. John with him,
Yep.
and then another friend of yours he hired,
yeah,
Metcalf. So
good. I mean, obviously, people talking about him. I mean, they have to be the most talked about team that scored 1 point in the national tournament. I can tell you that. I don't think there's ever been a team that's got talked about this much that won one duel and scored one point. But
a lot of upside, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is only upside.
Well, but you have personal relationships with those guys, so
no, they're gonna. It elevates the state, which is a great thing. And Iowa City wants, Ames wants to be the center of the wrestling universe. They want Iowa to be the center of the wrestling universe, and it really isn't right now. I mean, it's not. It's out in State College. It's out in Penn State. And we all need to do our part to get it back here. Obviously they put a lot of resources in, which I think is good for wrestling. It elevates other coaches too. I know the Pitt coach. I'm hearing they're throwing out some numbers that these guys are going to get paid pretty well. Right. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's a great that because everyone's like, well, it's going to make your job tougher. The job's never been easy. We're in the state of Iowa. We have to scratch and claw and kick for everybody. It just to me, it's going to make me a better coach. I have to be a better recruiter. Dresser's a great recruiter. Does a great job. Has built a great program, and obviously came back here for a reason. He could have stayed at Virginia Tech, and they had things going very well. He's been out there for a long time, but obviously he came back here for a reason, and I think it's going to elevate the state of Iowa. And to me, that's what I want. I'm certainly not going to shy away from any competition and look forward to it, man. I'm glad that Iowa State invested like that. It makes us raise our game, and it's going to make the state more interesting. Like I said, I want, and I know we all want the state of Iowa to be the center of college wrestling or the wrestling universe, and that means all three state schools have to be very strong, and we have to be developing on a high school level, so those kids can come into the state colleges, and a guy like Max Thomson and a guy like Drew Foster, who from the state that. In the next couple of years, they're gonna be up on that stage. They're gonna be looking to win national titles, and they're gonna be in the hunt to do it. And I don't know, representing the state school, that's a great thing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm answering the question. I like it. I like it because we're the forgotten school again, and that's perfect. It's exactly where I enjoy being. Because we're just going to keep going to work, and we're going to keep getting our team better, and we'll show up and we'll scrap. I think February 10th, we'll have Iowa State on the schedule at home. That's the tentative date right now. Look forward to having them. They're going to have a good team, man. I mean, they got some good kids coming in. That Store kid, he's a stud.
Yeah, he's legit, no doubt about it.
I mean, he's a stud in Parker, and they have some other guys too. So they're going to have a good young team. I know from experience, it's not a snap of the finger to turn things around, though. You don't just instantly change a culture. So they got some work to do, and I think they understand that. But I know they're getting to it, and they're elevated college wrestling in the state of Iowa, which is good.
You're listening to On the Mat with Jeff Bradley and head coach of University of Northern Iowa Wrestling, Doug Schwab. Okay, I know you have been, not sure if you still are, on the rules committee.
My first year off, I was on it for 3 years, and actually I just saw a picture Mark Branch had. They're at their committee meetings right now. So, it was actually a great experience. At first I was not very happy with Troy, my boss, for putting me on, because I'm like, I don't want to do that. But it certainly gave me a better understanding of how much thought gets put into those things, and it just keeps kind of on the cutting edge of what's going on. And I'm looking to try to get on the championship committee next. That's what they decide where the national tournaments are. They decide the seeding and those things, and kind of how the championships run. So I know I'm going to get back on a committee in the future. So it was a good thing. So I kind of cut off your question there, Jeff. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the main thing was I want to know the one rule that's really sticking in your craw that you would, if you could just wave the magic wand, what would you do away with, or what would you add in?
Boy, that's a tough thing. I think we really tried to work to to have them call stalling or give them kind of the parameters. A guy drops down, and I think that's helped a lot because remember a couple years ago how guys were dropping down to ankles and they're sitting down on the ankles the whole time, and it was just awful. So I think you try to be reactionary. Probably edge of the mat, figuring out really what you're going to do there. Are we going to make it a clear cut if they go out of bounds a point? I think making a decision there and then going with it. But I think for the most part the rules are pretty good. I imagine a lot of people we need to get an independent person to take the video review. That's probably one that a lot of people talking about right now, and that we need to do something to change this because these guys don't want to change their call for one reason or another. The numbers are crazy, percentage-wise, how many they don't overturn. And that there's obviously some things being messed up. It just happens. They're human. So, but I think that'd probably be the biggest thing that I think that they're really looking to change and probably will in the real near future.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate it. You had a good tournament, and I'm sure better things to come in in 2018.
All right.
We are going to sit down now with Max Thomson, fresh off a national tournament of 3 weeks ago, 149 pounds, 2017 All-American. Max, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good. So I want to start out right away. Was that national tournament experience, now that you've had a little time to reflect, is it what you thought it was going to be going into it? I just talked to Drew a little bit ago, and he goes, it was almost like a NASCAR race, like things were happening so fast. Or could you kind of slow it down and enjoy it even though it was, a grind?
Yeah, I think it came up a lot faster than I thought just because the season is a little bit longer, but it came up real fast. But I tried to slow it down as much as I could, enjoy it, but it definitely flies by.
And let's talk a little bit about your support system. Obviously, you can talk a little bit about your teammates and your coaches, but who are the other people you leaned on down in St. Louis?
Yeah, just my family, and the Panther Train has a lot of support out there for fans, and I know we bring a lot of fans down to the national tournament, and hopefully we can keep getting guys on the stands so we can get them a little better seats for next year.
So I want to start by reviewing a little bit of your regular season, and then we're going to get into your national tournament. And a couple of these losses you rectified during the year, but right away you wrestled Chisco from Virginia Tech. Was that kind of the first time where you go, ooh, okay, this is Division I wrestling, or was it just another match, okay, and I happened to not get my hand raised?
Yeah, I think maybe it was my first really big opportunity, and maybe I didn't put the best max out there, but I think I just wrestled at like one match, and unfortunately I did not win that one.
And you just went third person on me right there, didn't you? Didn't he say the best max? Yeah. It wasn't quite the best max. I've seen the good max, and I've seen great max. That was good max. Wasn't great max. So now we move on to, you're going to have a trilogy with this guy, Levon Mays you lose him at the scuffle, beat him in the duel, and we'll talk about the national tournament in a minute, and then lose him at conference, but all those matches were just phenomenally great, high-level matches. What did you take out of that loss at the scuffle?
Just that I knew I was right there and I was ready to make that jump. I just really had to put my cards on the table and really just sell out and go for it.
Then you finish up the regular season, you beat a guy from Central Michigan, that Oliver, who I think's real good, and then you knock off Mays. So you're feeling great coming in the conference tournament. And another classic match between you and Mays from Missouri. Could have went either way. It's an eyelash of a difference in the replay, and I still think you probably won that match, but I'm a little biased. So what did you take anything from that conference loss into the national tournament?
Well, I knew I was right there, so I knew that I was peaking at the right time, and I know our coaches, they set up our training schedule good, so we'd peak at the right time, and I think not just me, but the whole entire team was peaking at max, and we had a lot of good max tournaments. We had a lot of seconds, which next year we'll change that, but I think we had a lot of guys really peaking at the right time.
Okay, so now you're at national tournament, St. Louis, first match against Drexel. Were you able to control the nerves? Was it just business as usual like any other match? Or was it a little bit tougher to get focused at national tournament, that first match?
My focus was there the whole time. I think when you first run out there, it's a new experience and a new platform you're set on. And it was a great time, and the fans and just St. Louis is a great place to hold the NCAA tournament. So it was just a blast, and maybe the atmosphere pulled it out of me a little bit, but I still got the job done.
So then second round, you have a quality guy from Lehigh. You knock him off to set up, I don't really know if it's a rematch with this Rutgers Theobald, but you wrestled him at Midlands last year and came out on the short end of the stick, and he rode you pretty hard. So you took him out, you wrestled a great match. Did that give you even more confidence that, man, look how much I've improved in this year, and I'm just going to keep steamrolling through this tournament?
Yeah, it's kind of back to what I was saying earlier, just peaking at the right time and really hitting full stride when in big moments like the quarterfinals of the NCAAs. And I felt a lot of growth in myself, and that's what really started building a lot of confidence in myself, and I was really able to go out there and let it fly.
You watch any tape on that last year's match, or did you just totally different Max, right?
Yep.
So then we have now the third match with Missouri and Mays, semifinals. So you win this, you're in the finals. You lose, you're already All-American. You've locked down, top 6. What was the mindset and the focus going in that semifinal match? Because that is, to me, that's the best round of the tournament.
I just kind of tried to maybe blank out all the pressure and just stay relaxed and try to go to my offense. And I didn't get the outcome that I wanted, and I know that hurt a lot because after that loss, when I went back to the hotel, it was hard for me to refocus after that one because I really, that was a match I really wanted, and I told myself after I lost to him at Max, I knew that I was going to get the one at NCAAs, and then when I still came up short, it hurt me, but it was a good experience for me.
And we just have a few seconds left. I want you to tell me about knocking Chisco off now to get 5th place.
It's right back with the same theme, just peaking at the right time, and the growth that all the Panthers are having this year, and we're really young, and we're just going to keep growing, and you're going to see big strides in the Panther train in the future.
I agree with that, Max. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Once again, congratulations on being an All-American 2017.
Thank you. Go Panthers.
And that's it for us on the Mat.
You've been listening to On the Mat, the Cedar Valley's longest-running radio show devoted entirely to wrestling. Brought to you by Rolling Ford and the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dan Gable Museum on 1650 The Fan.
This show is part of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MatTalkOnline.com.